What's up, guys? It's Davis with Tennessee Cash for Homes. I want to talk about a specific topic today that seems to be hot on a lot of people's minds, whether buyer or seller in today's housing market, and that's interest rates. What are they doing? Where are they going? How are they trending? And what does that mean for you as either a buyer or a seller? Let's tackle interest rates and how they apply to a seller first. As you can see, the last 5 months or so, the interest rates have been consistently trending downward, which is a great sign for buyers in today's market. What does that mean exactly? It's just simply an affordability thing. If you've been alive for the last 3-4 years, you probably have felt it in your wallet. Stuff is just more expensive. Prices at the grocery store is more expensive. Insurance is more expensive. Everything is more expensive now than it was 5-6 years ago. Interest rates played a major role in that. Back in the end of 2022, when interest rates spiked and went up to north of 7%, inflation got nasty. No one could afford anything, and we've been battling this consistent battle now for the better part of 3 years. And as we can see, it is now getting a whole lot better. As a seller in today's market, what does that exactly mean that interest rates are trending lower? Well, like I said, it's an affordability issue for buyers. So if you can make homes more affordable across the board, then that gives you a bigger buyer's pool when you're going to sell your property. For example, I like to say there's 3 different styles or 3 different classes of homes. You have high-end luxury, you have a middle-class pool of homes, and this is somewhere where someone has bought a home and they're wanting to upgrade it, or maybe they got a promotion at their work, they've started making more money, whatever the case might be. And I kind of classify those as $1 million plus. Those are kind of going to be your higher end luxury homes. Between $500,000 and about $1 million, that's where I put kind of in the middle. And then anything below $500,000, I kind of, depending on where you're at in the country, for us here in Tennessee, $500,000 and below is pretty much a starter home at this point in Middle Tennessee. With interest rates lowering, it makes those houses now for a starter home or someone who's looking to buy their first property, whatever the case is, they are now able to afford more options, more money, more dollar amounts. And they're able to actually get picky and say, hey, listen, this is what I want. And that's been consistent with the fact that it's been a buyer's market the last year or so. So as a seller, when you're figuring out what am I going to do with my property, I want to sell it, I want to upgrade, I want to downgrade, whatever your situation is, interest rates play a huge role. And the fact that they're lowering is a great sign for you and you maximizing your dollar amount. We love it when interest rates lower because we can now go borrow money for cheaper to go do more projects or spend more money in hopes to grow and become a larger scale operation and buy more properties. Let's talk about interest rates, how they can affect the sellers. Now that we're getting a handle on the affordability problem, it's going to open up a widespread gate of more buyers into the market, which in turn does make it more competitive. However, with interest rates going lower, the people who locked in 2% rates, 3% rates, and 4% rates back in 2019, 2020, 2021, those folks are now not stuck like they were the last 2 years. Why would you trade a 3% interest rate for a 7.5% interest rate? It doesn't make any sense. As a seller, yes, there is going to be more competition for your property when you're looking to sell it, but there should be more inventory, thus leading to more deals, more choices, more options for people to look at. It's a good thing overall, and it's very healthy for our market. There's been a shortage of inventory for years, really since I've been in the business. Now let's talk about how this affects buyers. If you're a buyer in today's market, you are hitting it perfect. Guys, the interest rate's historical average is north of 7%. We're now almost to 6% flat and looks like it's going to go lower following the rest of this year. So as a buyer, shop around, go lock in a rate and go buy the property. Guess what? If the interest rates drop over the next 2 years and they get down into the mid fours, closer to five, buy the house, refinance the property later. You're never going to see a 2% interest rate climate ever again, in my opinion. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. I'm not the know-it-all. I don't know it all, but historically, when the historical average since 1971, that the interest rates have been north of 7%. If you can get something lower than that, then you're beating the historical average. So as a buyer, go get locked in for a rate, start looking to buy a home because affordability problem is being fixed. There's about to be a flood of inventory on the market. The more the interest rates drop, yes, there's going to be some demand, but it adds so much value to you now as a buyer because the interest rate that's at 6% in today's world versus where it was a year ago at 7.5%, guys, that's like a $250 monthly payment difference on a $300,000 loan. That's a huge deal for people that might be on fixed income or they just got a raise and they're tapped out. This is as much as they can pay. Well, just in a macroeconomic sense, this interest rate drop, and the more they keep dropping, literally gives you bargaining power and purchasing power when you go look to buy your next home. These are things that you have to look at across the board. This is something that we do every single day. At Tennessee Cash for Homes, we try to stay as up to date as physically possible. When we see interest rates drop, we get really excited about it because we know now there's going to be more buyers. There's inherently going to be more sellers. We love it. We do believe that it's a healthy trend in our market today, and we're super excited to see the rest of 2026. Thanks.
Call Tennessee Cash for Home. 615-801